Mr. Mayor, I've asked for us to be counted in.
Thank you.
And we are live.
Thank you very much. I'd like to welcome everybody to the special council meeting of Wednesday, October 20th. We'll begin the meeting immediately after the reading of the land acknowledgement. The Township of Oro-Medonte acknowledges that we are all situated on the traditional land of the Anishinaabe people, an ancestral territory of the Huron-Wendat. The Anishinaabe include the Odawa, the Ojibwe, and the Potawatomi nations, collectively known as the Three Fires Confederacy. It continues today as the home for diverse Indigenous people, including the historic Métis community in Penetang-Wisheen. The Anishinaabe people continue to have an enduring relationship with this land, specifically the Chippewas of Rama First Nations, the Chippewa Tri-Council, and the Williams Treaties First Nations. The Huron-Wendat Nation also continues to pay respect and protect the ancestors and the heritage of this land. We honor the Indigenous history and culture that has thrived for millennia in this territory and the treaties that bind us together as partners in the spirit of a shared, sustainable, and prosperous future. We are all treaty people. Our commitment begins with acknowledging the truth so that we can move forward together towards reconciliation. Madam Clerk, may we have a motion to adopt the agenda, please?
Moved by Shell, seconded by Lavoie. Be it resolved that the agenda for the special council meeting of Wednesday, December 20th, 2023, be received and adopted.
Thank you. All in favor? That is carried. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest at this time? Seeing none, may we have a motion to go into close, Madam Clerk?
Moved by Clark, seconded by Hutchison. Be it resolved that we do now go into closed at 3:32 p.m. To discuss labor relations, employee negotiations, staffing, organizational update. D, a trade secret or scientific, technical, commercial, financial, or labor relations information supplied in confidence to the municipality or local board, which, if disclosed, could reasonably be expected to prejudice significantly to competitive position or interfere significantly with the contractual or other negotiations of a person, group of persons, or organization. Simcoe County District School Board, SCDSB, Community Center Partnership Agreement.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Before I call the vote, CAO Dunn, you'd want it to comment?
Mr. Mayor, if I could, for members of the gallery and those that are listening, Mr. Mayor, I'm time challenged most of the time. However, I believe the two items should be accomplished with council within 20-25 minutes.
Okay, thank you very much for that clarity. Understanding that, I'll now call the vote. All in favor? And that is carried. Okay, we'll see everyone in closed, and then we should be back within 25 minutes. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, we're live.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. May we have a motion to rise, please?
Moved by Bard, seconded by Young. Be it resolved that we do now rise at 4:04 p.m. And report on closed session items C and D.
Okay. All in favor? That is carried. And may we have a motion for item 4C emanating from close, Madam Clerk?
Moved by Lavoie, seconded by Clark. Be it resolved that confidential verbal information presented by Robin Dunn, CAO, Labor Relations, Employee Negotiations, Staffing Organizational Update be received.
All in favor? That is carried. And may we have a motion for item 4D emanating from close?
Moved by Young, seconded by Hutchison. Be it resolved that the confidential correspondence presented by Robin Dunn, CAO, and Sean Binns, Director of Operations and Community Services, re a trade secret or scientific, technical, commercial, financial, or labor relations information supplied in confidence to the municipality or local board, which, if disclosed, could reasonably be expected to prejudice significantly the competitive position or interfere significantly with the contractual or other negotiations of a person, group, or persons, or organization. Simcoe County District School Board, Community SCDSB Community Center Partnership Agreement be received.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. All in favor? That is carried. Okay, so that takes us to item 5, open forum. Madam Clerk, is there anyone registered to speak at open forum?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we have 2 registrations for open forum. We have Stephen Wells on his own behalf, and he is joining us by computer, by Zoom, and Lillian McConnell on her behalf, and she is in person.
Okay, thank you very much. So, Madam Clerk, if Stephen Wells is in the waiting room, is he there now? Okay, I see him on my screen. So I'm just going to go over the open forum rule. So, excuse me. Everyone has 2 minutes to speak to any matter that's on the agenda. I do ask that the comments be kept respectful, and you know, we'll gladly listen to them. You know, that's common courtesy. We want everyone to be professional, respectful, and adhere to the rules. And so at that, I will call Stephen Wells to come forward, who's coming virtually to speak. And could you identify the matter you're speaking to as well as your name?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can, sir.
Okay, my name is Stephen Wells, and I'm here to speak to the matter of Councillor Schell, which is on the agenda later today.
Okay, please go ahead.
Okay, it's a little bit difficult for me because I'm not quite sure what Councillor Schell is going to say later in this special council meeting. But I just wanted to say that the Integrity Commissioner's report on Councillor Schell's behavior that was tabled on, I think, November 24th is quite lenient. And Councillor Schell and his wife continue to operate 2 STAs contrary to the existing bylaw of the township and the position of council. In fact, about 3 or 4 days after the report was tabled and made public, and Mr. Schell attended a town hall meeting, which I was at, and tried to convince the public at large that what he was doing was in fact legal by producing documents that gave him the right to operate these illegal STAs, which in fact we all know were not those documents. One was a factum and one was an OLT appeal decision. Anyway, to keep this brief, I think his behavior continues to be unremorseful, if you wish. He's violated the code of conduct, or the code of ethics, I should say, of the township. He has recused himself on any issues to do with STAs in the township. And as a representative of Ward 5, we have no representation on these very important issues to us. So in summary, I think he should resign. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for your comments. Madam Clerk, before we call the next person forward, I want some guidance from you as to is it appropriate to explain rather than leave it to the time the limitations of what the comments under that item would be today? Or is this not appropriate to do at that time?
Mr. Mayor, it is your meeting. If you prefer to do your explanation, provide an explanation, then
Okay.
That's fine.
Thank you.
However, it is the open forum portion of the meeting, so you just have to waive procedure to come back to that.
Okay, so just so I can bring clarity, because I don't think this is, I want everyone to be respectful of one another and understand what the limitations are. I'm going to ask council if we can break from procedure so I can bring this to light at this time, rather than repetition about stuff that is not going to be discussed later. So I'll call that vote. All in favor? And against? Okay, that is carried. So just so the public knows, the item later regarding Councillor Schell, he's limited to only speak to the penalty and the sanctions issued by the IC. It's not to rehear the path of what got us there or anything to do with the IC report. The only thing that can be spoke at this meeting under that has been identified is towards the sanctions and penalty. Okay, so just so people understand that fairly, then I will move back to calling the second person registered, who I believe is Lillian McConnell. If you just step to the mic, in 2 minutes is what is allotted for this, and if you could just state your name and proceed when ready.
Lillian McConnell, 34 Maplewood Parkway, Ward 5 resident. Good afternoon, Mayor Greenlaw, council and staff. I will be addressing my concerns regarding item 8A, Mr. Schell, and the Integrity Commission's report. Since I've yet to hear what Mr. Schell has to say today, I would like to state that it would be a positive step if he would publicly apologize to the residents of Oro-Medonte for spreading misinformation regarding the findings of the OTL and the short-term rentals, and if he could cease in operating his illegal short-term rentals. However, since this is not likely to happen, I do think it's a problem that Mr. Schell has disregarded the explanation put forward by the Integrity Commissioner and also by a respected lawyer at the Ward 5 Town Hall. They were clarifying the information of the documents that he keeps displaying. He blatantly stated that he believes he or whoever has provided these documents for him, because they're not easy to obtain, that he believes they are to be correct. He then stated he would continue to operate his short-term rental, which we all know is in contravention of the township bylaws, and which, by the way, never have been disreputed. That bylaw still stands. And I believe he does this for his own personal gain. When you run for council, the only thing you can really promise is that you will work from a place of personal integrity. Your transparency and honesty are the only things of which you have any personal control. If you allow yourself to be manipulated by others, even if they have legal or political backgrounds, you are jeopardizing your own personal integrity or code of conduct. You not only lose the respect of the residents, but also your own personal self-respect. Hoping for personal gain or to enhance the prospects of certain others is not what a person on council should be doing. It is definitely a conflict of interest.
Okay.
Whether or not
we're at 2 minutes, Ms. McConnell. I apologize.
I can sum it up real quick.
Please.
Okay. Okay, whether you act on your own or at the advice of others, the result is the same, a loss of integrity, confidence, and the trust of the people that you have sworn to serve. Myself and others who have shown me their concerns say they have lost trust in Councillor of Ward 5. It's not our interest, but his own that he is putting forward. Because of Mr. Shell's cavalier attitude toward bylaws.
I've let you go. I apologize for it.
I timed it last night and I was at 2:24.
Yeah, no.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
I would like to say that we would request, respectfully so, Mr. Shell's resignation.
Okay, well, thank you very much for your comments. Madam Clerk, that's all that had registered, correct?
That is correct, Mr. Mayor. However, if
Yeah.
there are others in the gallery.
Yeah, no, so at this point in time, if there's anyone who wishes to comment or speak in regards to any matters on the agenda, I'd ask that you come to the mic, give your name, and proceed, please. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak at this time? Seeing none. Okay, so we will now move on to 6A, which is reports of municipal officers for action. May we have a motion for 6A, Madam Clerk?
Moved by Bard, seconded by Shell. Be it resolved that DS 2023-103, Andy Karaskakis, Manager, Planning Services, Memorandum of Understanding with Lake Simcoe Region Conservation Authority, LSRCA, and Nottawasaga Valley Conservation Authority, NVCA, for services be received and adopted. That Council authorize the Mayor and Clerk to enter into a Memorandum of Understanding or other agreements as needed with the Lake Simcoe Region Conservation Authority and Nottawasaga Valley Conservation Authority for the delivery of a mandatory service Category 1 in accordance with the Conservation Authorities Act. That the Lake Simcoe Region Conservation Authority and Nottawasaga Valley Conservation Authority be advised of Council's decision, and that staff bring forward the appropriate bylaws for the MOU.
Thank you very much. I'll open the floor at this time. Is there any comments or questions by members of council on these issues, these items, sorry? Seeing none. The one thing, though, that I would like to kind of just make everyone aware of is the permit fees by the provincial government. They've extended it for one more year, that there is no increase to permit fees for applications that are coming forward through the CAs. Okay, so that said, I'll call the vote. All in favor? And that is carried. CAO done?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Would, Mr. Mayor, you and council consider dealing with the information report, dealing with 8A, before you move on to the action item? I believe those two things would free up the agenda to be able to deal with the big lift of Mr. Bin's Community Center partnership report.
Okay. So you're asking we move to 8A now?
7A, Mr. Mayor, followed
7A.
by 8A.
So we'll do 7A, then 8A, and then come back to 6B. Is that what the order you'd like to do it? Okay, fair enough. Okay, so reports of municipal officers for information only. Could we have, is there a report that Mr. Matris would like to give in regards to 7A? Or are you just here to answer questions, I believe?
Through you, Mayor Greenlaw, I think that the report was for information only. It is fairly high level. It does outline a process for the Class EA that needs to be followed. It is part of a larger project around the Warminster Side Road rehabilitation. Following the public consultation period, there will be or process rather, there will be a detailed report that'll come back to council with more detail. So it's really just a procedural matter to inform council that that process has been initiated.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, with that said, I'll call the vote. All in favor? That is carried. Now we'll go to item reports of members of council.
Mr. Mayor?
You didn't read the motion.
Correct.
Did you want to do that now, or do you want to do that later and we can vote at the end of the, I'm just kidding you. No, please read the motion, and then I'm going to ask everyone to pay attention and correct me before we get this far down the road.
Moved by Clark, seconded by Shell. Be it resolved that the report as listed under item 7A, reports of municipal officers for information only, be received.
Thank you. I'll call the vote now. All in favor? That is carried. 8A, Councillor Shell has submitted a verbal form to speak to the sanctions and penalties emanating from the IC report of November 22nd, 2023. For clarity, Councillor Shell Council Shell, as you are aware, you can only speak to the sanctions and penalties, not the IC report findings itself. So whenever you're ready, you can please continue.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Greenlaw, through you to the public and to my colleagues. First of all, I'd like to apologize to my colleagues for us ending up in this situation. And secondly, I do accept the Integrity Commissioner's report, although I do disagree with the findings, and I also disagree with the penalty that was imposed.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, do you have a motion to receive that information?
Moved by Lavoie, seconded by Bard. Be it resolved that the verbal information presented by Councillor Shell regarding Eward O'Dwyer, Integrity Commissioner, IC sanction and penalties, motion C231122-3, November 22nd, 2023, council meeting, file number 2185015, be received for information only.
Okay, all in favor? And that is carried. Okay, so now we'll return to 6B. May we have a motion for 6B, Madam Clerk?
Moved by Hutchison, seconded by Lavoie. Be it resolved that OCS 2023-22, Sean Binns, Director of Operations and Community Services, Simcoe County District School Board, SCDSB, Community Center Partnership Update be received and adopted. The council endorsed the award of tender 2023-119-15T-A, Oro-Medonte Public School and Community Center, new facility construction to Remo General Contracting Limited. That council approved the current project budget at $8,471,443 to complete the township scope of the project. That staff report back to council on Q1 2024 with the final joint venture agreement with Simcoe County District School Board.
Now, I'll ask for Sean. I was going to ask for the vote, but I know I'd get slapped in the wrist by the clerk again. Mr. Binns, would you like to speak to this matter, please?
I would. Thank you, Mayor Greenlaw, members of council, members of the public. This project goes back to pre-2013, and I'm not going to go through all of the report. There are a number of background reports that have been appended to the report before you. I do want to highlight a couple components just to set some context. So back in 2010, we undertook what we called a strategic facility plan, and what we intended to do in that plan was to lay out a longer term plan for the provision of recreation facilities across the township. Our arena was in need of major refurbishment. There was some requests from the public to look at a multi-use recreation facility. We had aging community halls. So the strategy was really to lay out how we best serve our community. As I think everyone can appreciate, we're a large community. We border two cities in the town of Midland to the north. Pretty challenging to serve our community with a multi-use recreation facility that you'd see in urban centers, and really that's what the report laid out, is that we are a community of communities in many ways. we couldn't provide the services that we need with one recreation facility. So that really kind of set the context for the redevelopment or refurbishment of the Oro-Medonte Arena, a refurbishment of some of our community halls, and the strategy laid out a number of things and how to deal with growth. And that's really kind of what set the context for a facility around the Horseshoe Valley corridor, which is really central in the municipality. So coming out of that, we started discussions with the school board. And after 2010, there was a number of facilities that had closed around the Horseshoe Valley corridor as well. The Ian Beard Community Room, which was part of the OPP that was available for community programming. There was the Sugarbush Indian Park Association Recreation Center and Pine Ridge Ski Club that were private facilities that all closed. It really highlighted a need to do something for recreation facilities in that area. We acquired land in 2013 and then entered into discussions with the school board that have materialized into a partnership that we've been working on since 2017. Since that time, we've looked at a whole number of different elements in scope of what the facility would contain, with public input kind of guiding the process as it evolved. And in 2021, council approved the scope of the project to be a full-size high school gymnasium. The township would own half of the gym, the school board would own the other half. There'd be an acoustical divider that would split the facilities, some multi-purpose programming space, township accommodation, so being able to provide service to the public, general customer service to the public. And then the plans also include provisions for future additions for both the school board and the township. The project was approved in 2021. That allowed the finalization of the design, and the project did go out to tender. And I appreciate the time for the special meeting. Why this special meeting was called was the timing associated with the award of the tender, and that's really the intent of the report before you today. Trying to highlight the evolution of the project, the results of the tender, and the project was put out through a public process through the school board's procurement bylaws. We have provisions in our bylaws that allow us to piggyback, for lack of a better term, on another public entity. Those results have come back. It is a bit of a dynamic award process because the school board is looking at two options. They're looking at a 357 people place school and a 570 people place school. The collective, in partnership with the school board, won't be in a position to execute a letter of award until the school board has the ministry approval to do that. And the time frame to do that is by the 2nd of January. So following the approval from the ministry, assuming council's concurrence with the staff recommendation, we would issue that letter of award. The construction cost value, as you can see, we did go through a pre-qualification process, competitive bid, and the low bid is Remo General Contracting. So through the due diligence process by our consultants as well as the school board, we're recommending that we proceed with the low bid. The project will be governed by two distinct agreements. One, a joint venture agreement that lays out how the project will be managed, the management of the asset, and the financial responsibilities, so the governance of the project and the asset. And then in 2024, the development of an operational agreement that will govern and manage the day-to-day operations in terms of how we permit, what types of uses are permitted, things like who decides when a roof is replaced, how we share hydro costs, those kinds of things. So that'll be forthcoming. So I think the good news is this is, I think, a great project that has been a long time coming. It really looks to optimize the investment of taxpayers' dollars in a public facility and optimize the use of that facility. Those have been kind of foundational elements of why we're doing this. The bad news is, unfortunately, which seems to be the trend in most projects, we are over budget. There is a budget unfavorable variance of just over $700,000. As you can see in the attachment to the report, the funding strategy for the project is through three main elements now, the largest element being development charges, a land contribution or contribution for the land value from the school board, and a small reserve transfer of just about $300,000, and that is the sale of parkland assets in the Horseshoe Valley area that is being put towards this project. We are in the process of going through a development charge review. We're optimistic that we can fund a portion of that, the deficit through the development charges. That'll be coming to council in early 2024. So we can't distinctly advise how we're going to fund that deficit at this point, but we are looking at this amidst the portfolio of projects coming forward as part of the 2024 budget recalibration and the opportunities that exist through development charges. So in terms of next steps, we do need to award the contract. The final value, as you can appreciate, a project of this nature, the total project value is just under $32 million at the 570 People Place school value. So for the contractor to break down the proportional share cost does take quite a bit of work. That will come back to council in the new year for finalization of the joint venture agreement that will include all those the detailed costs, but the costs that we've projected do include contingency, all the soft costs, and will be within the same order of magnitude as what we've outlined in the staff report. So at a really high level, that's an overview of how we got to where we are now, and the next steps. Mayor Greenlaw, happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Benz. At this time, I'll open the floor to council members to comment or questions. Are there any comments or questions? Councillor Schell?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Greenlaw, through you to Sean. There are comments about this project that I find concerning, or components, sorry. Number one is the notion of having public offices on a school site considering the safety of children. And two, the lack of seeing a business case that takes into the financial impacts of operating the facility once it's built. And having a report come before council 1 year into its term to spend what will be over $8 million on December the 20th for final commitment on January the 2nd. That's a little bit concerning to me. I'd like to consider maybe deferring this and look for a seconder for a motion to do so.
Mr. Benz? You can't second it, by the way. Just so you know.
Through you, Mayor Greenlaw, I think it's important for context that the background reports do provide a significant amount of detail. There was approvals from council, various councils throughout the evolution of this project to get us to the point that we're at now, including the project scope. The last report that was attached as part of the staff report did outline the operating considerations and the order of magnitude costs from operating. So all of that information was part of the staff report that was before council and part of the decision matrix that previous councils awarded this on. And I certainly appreciate, the challenge of an $8 million project that you haven't really had a part of, and being asked to issue a letter of award. And that's why we've tried to lay out the background to get us to where we are now. There really are no alternatives. We've committed to the school board. We've gone through a process. We've spent a lot of money. If failing to act now would have fairly significant risk implications on whether or not a school actually gets constructed in the municipality or not. And it's contrary to our commitments that we've made and agreed to with the school board. So I think that needs to be understood. There really is no other options or alternatives. Even in terms of, how we could potentially reduce the budget, we looked at overall value, and there are things in Part B of the tender that would be getting down to, do we put vinyl plank in or do we put a VCT tile? And we're talking, savings of, $2,000 or $3,000 potentially for each of those line items that have life cycle implications. So those may be things that we get into as we get into change orders and, moving the project along. But we're really not in a position. I think the risks of trying to do anything beyond that would be significant. So I would just caution on that basis.
Okay, thank you. And Councillor Schell?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Binns. I'm pleased to see that the new school is wanting to be there, located there, and with the partnership agreement. I do think it's needed. Just a little concerned about the process that we're going through at this point in time with the monetary constraints that are on everybody's shoulders. That's all.
Yes, and I appreciate your comments. My concern is things are not going to get cheaper if we delay this, and I don't want to. I personally do not want to pause this. It's moved at the lightning speed of an iceberg from the north heading south, and I think for us to put obstacles up over somewhat minor or minuscule issues at this point, I think we need to get this approved. That's why the special council meeting was called today, so that we're not holding this up any longer. I also think we need to acknowledge also we're the third council to shepherd this through the process, and I think we're at the point where we got to continue to move it forward for the betterment of what is a necessity in the community at this time. So that said, Councillor Clark.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Mr. Binns. Do we have any idea of what the defined catchment area would be for this new school?
Councillor Clark, good question. No, we don't. The school board goes through kind of a prescribed process, and they had planned that addition, and given the need and growth within the corridor in the area, they've expanded that. So that process, I'm not sure when that process will start, probably sometime in 2024. It's a common question and a good question, because we get that question a lot, like where will students be going? And essentially all we can say is that it is part of a school board process, and that'll happen sometime in 2024.
Supplemental.
Thank you. And this may be a speculative question, but does the increase in the number of pupils at the school from 357 to 570 have any potential effect on other school board projects in the municipality?
Another good question. Again, school board process and something that we can't comment on, and that would be subject to that process.
Okay. Any other questions at this time? Seeing none, so there was a motion put on the floor by Councillor Schell to defer. Is there anyone who's willing to second that motion? Seeing none, I would take it Madam Clerk, will just go back to the original motion that was read at the beginning to vote on.
That's correct. Correct.
Okay, so therefore I will call a vote at this time. All in favor? Those against? Okay, that is carried. So, Madam Clerk, now we'll go to confirmation bylaw. May I have the confirmation bylaw, please?
Moved by Young, seconded by Clark. Be it resolved that bylaw number 2023 103, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the special council meeting held on Wednesday, December 20th, 2023, be read a first, second, and third time, passed, be engrossed by the clerk, signed and sealed by the mayor.
All in favor? That is carried. And may we have a motion to adjourn, Madam Clerk?
Moved by Shell, seconded by Young. Be it resolved that we do now adjourn at 4:39.
Okay, just 1 second. Thank you.
Mayor Greenlaw, I wish to make a statement. Nothing on the agenda, but I'd like to address council.
In regards to something that's not on the agenda?
No.
Okay. We'd have to break from procedure.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, I cannot hear what's happening.
Okay, so a resident from the township has asked to speak to something that's not on the agenda.
No, that is not appropriate.
That's not appropriate. And unfortunately, I apologize. We can't. I will speak with you after the meeting and figure out how we can, in the future, how to approach it. Is that okay?
The meeting is over, right? So
It's not over yet. We just, we haven't voted.
just passed the conservation bylaw.
Yeah, we did, but we haven't voted to adjourn. Okay. So, hearing the motion, before we adjourn, I just want to let everyone to know who aren't attending tonight, you could stream the years of service acknowledgement ceremony on behalf of the firefighters who are an amazing group of individuals who sacrifice a ton of personal and family time in order to make sure that this township is kept safe. But I see there's people on there all the way up to 45 years of service and some that are retiring. So an amazing group of people within our township that make us what we are. So that said, I will call the vote. All in favor? And that is carried. Thank you, and everyone have a great evening.
Mr. Mayor, Merry Christmas. Since I'm not with you in person, Merry Christmas and all the best over the holiday season.
And likewise. And I hope everyone has a safe and wonderful